Hello, everyone. You're listening to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire Ho. You can also call me a promo guy. My guest today is Jordanne Pallesen from Julia Publicity. Jordan APR is a PR and communication professional with 14 years of agency and in-house experience. In 2021, she created the PR training program to teach entrepreneurs how to become their own purpose and secure a major media opportunity. Welcome to the show, Jordan.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and chat with you.
I've so much questions for you, but before that, love to find out about, how did you get into PR, and then what do you like most about what you do?
Yeah, so I've been in PR for many years. It's what I studied in college. And then immediately in college, started working for PR agencies. Originally, I thought I was going to work in Hollywood. I always thought I would be like a producer, Hollywood producer. I actually interned in Hollywood for a big director. So I've always had a love for the media. I worked at the local news stations when I was in high school. And it kind of led me to PR because it allowed me to still work with media and remain behind the scenes.
Okay, thanks for sharing. I think one of the misconceptions and questions that I have for myself is, what is PR? Like, are we only be a big company or celebrity to have a PR? So what is PR? If you could explain it to us.
Yeah, so PR it's really about building a mutually beneficial relationship between a brand and its stakeholders. And so stakeholders can be employees, customers, investors, anything like that. That is a big misconception, is that it is only for celebrities or it's only for big companies. And that's entirely not true, especially with today's media landscape. This is a form of PR right now, right? This is a media relations tactic where I pitched you and I'm on your show, and here we are on social media live. And so the media landscape has changed so much that PR and implementing PR is so important for businesses of all size, whether you're a solopreneur or a large business. Like, everyone should be considering public relations as a part of their marketing strategy.
What would you consider PR? Because like for the longest time, I thought PR is just, you write a press release, it's all word, sometimes a lot of industry jargon, right? And then you throw it out there. Hopefully, a journalist picks it up and then you got rid. Is that the case anymore? Or what would you consider? What are some of the PR platforms that are available to us right now?
Yeah. So when I'm creating a PR campaign, I'm looking at a lot of different strategies to help create awareness or drive sales for a brand, business, or service based entrepreneur. And we will use different things. So, what you're talking about is a press release, and that's specifically for media relations. So, one part of public relations is building a relationship with the media so that they can then spread awareness about your brand, write about your brand. And I would say media relations and publicity is the biggest strategy, what PR is known for, right? Media relations is kind of like the bulk of PR. But there's other tactics too, and things like creating events for people and influencers and media to come and experience. That's a PR strategy. Collaborating with social media influencers, collaborating with celebrities, that can all fall under PR. Creating brand partnerships with other brands, doing research and getting information about your target audience, helping you create communications. All of that falls under PR. So yeah, and instantly most people think press release, that's PR, but in reality, there's so much more that PR entails.
Yeah, that's a lot of different strategy in there. So for small business, obviously we have less resource than our bigger competitor, right? So what are some of the strategy that you recommend us to start thinking about? And when you're talking about building relationship with journalists, it takes a while to do that, right?
Yeah. And we're live on LinkedIn right now. To me, I think LinkedIn is one of the best channels to start fostering relationships with journalists. So if I was speaking to a small business owner, the advice that I would give is identify what media outlets that you want to show up in. So where's your target audience reading? What publications are they reading? Where are they consuming their content? And then connect with the journalists who are writing for those outlets. Start reading their work, start supporting their work, connect with them on LinkedIn, engage with their posts. It's building that relationship with that journalist, just like you would build a relationship with any other business stakeholder, whether that's a sales team member, a buyer, anything like that. You're fostering that relationship, and then you're going to show up as a resource to them when the time is right.
Do you suggest we start small, maybe a smaller regional magazines, or do we, jump right away to, let's say, an Inc. magazine or Fast Company, things like that?
Yeah, it really depends on where you're at with your business. I always recommend for small businesses to make sure that they have all of their other marketing strategies aligned. So you want to make sure that you're firing on all cylinders before journalists are starting to look at you, because you get to make one first impression, right? So we want to make sure you're going out on the strongest foot. And then also, if you land that Inc. magazine, you want to be able to make sure that your website can support it. You have social media in place so that you can amplify it. So all of those things should be in place before going after the big publications. But just because you're a small company doesn't mean you shouldn't be going after those big publications. There's resources out there like Quoted, QWOTED.com, Connectively, and Haro. And those are actually websites where you can go on and you can see what journalists are looking for sources. So they're looking for experts, they're looking for products. And if you fit that bill and it's for Fortune or for Inc., then you should apply for it, especially if your business on the back end is set up and ready to handle that traffic should you land the media placement.
Yeah, I think I like to share one example for me reaching out to journalists. So I'm in the promotional product business, right? So there is a magazine called Print and Promo Marketing Magazines. So obviously there are companies that are way bigger than I do in promotional product space. So it's really competitive for me to get a quote for that. But as you know, I'm doing this podcast and I know a few things about how to do the microphone setup, things like that. So I actually pitch the editor there. Do you want me to write an article about how to look and sound good when you appear on a podcast? So they actually like the idea, and then I actually become a contributing editor right now to the magazine.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I think there are things that you want to be on the lookout for them. And I think, if you find a niche that you could actually be helpful, they always want to look for more content, right? It's really hard for journalists too, to always looking for something new to write. They don't want to always write about the same thing. So think about what you're doing, what your interests are. Maybe you have a strong opinion on certain things that are going on around your industry or in the world. That would be a good pitch to a journalist.
Absolutely. That is my number one tip when connecting with journalists is show up as a resource. So that's a perfect example because you weren't promoting yourself, you weren't promoting your business, you were just showing up as a resource. And that's how you can create really meaningful and win-win relationships with journalists that'll just produce fruitful results over the years.
I think, for no shame self promotion afterwards, I will probably write a blog post and tell all my clients about that. So I think if you start to get quoted, then you can actually approach other platform or other journalists because, I've been quoted by this magazine. Would you want me to contribute to some of the article that you are writing? So I think it's the first time that's the biggest challenge. But once you get into the groove, does it get easier, Jordan?
Yeah, it does. And that proof helps. So when you start pitching yourself for more podcasts, oh, I've already been on these other podcasts. Podcasts specifically, I do recommend starting small just to find your groove, especially when you're talking and it's recorded, and then building up. But absolutely. And that brings about another point, which is when you do get quoted or you do get on a podcast, the importance of amplifying that quote, that media mention, or that podcast interview through your owned channels, because that will help you show up as an authority figure. And that's one of the biggest benefits of PR that I think is often overlooked. People just think, oh, I'm going to show up in this magazine, I'll get a bunch of leads, which may or may not be the case. And if you're actually then taking that, so for you, for example, that contributed piece, and then sharing it out on all of your channels, well, then all of a sudden your followers think of you now even more as an authority figure, because your writing and has been featured in this magazine. So it's a really another important piece of amplifying PR.
Then I want to get into this question. How long does it take to become an expert? Or does it really depend?
It really depends. I mean, honestly, it can take some time to get momentum going. And what you'll notice is, even if you start out with, whether you're doing PR by yourself or you're engaging with an expert, it can take some time to actually ramp up and see the placements. So you could book a podcast interview the next day. It may not air until next month. And that could be the same thing with other media placements. I would get like 3 months is really around the
Hmm.
timeline that you should be expecting before those placements really start to trickle out.
From your point of view and working with clients, so let's say, in the service-based business, people are, the end user is considering different professional, right? So what's the advantage for being viewed as an expert, and how much time do the end client needs to see a person or the expert to appear on different media before they will consider them as an expert in the industry?
That's a great question. So, one of my favorite quotes is, advertising is saying you're good, PR is getting someone else to say you're good.
Hmm.
And as consumers, we like someone else telling us that they're good, go use them. And that's what PR does in a way that no other marketing strategy can. So, take for example, if you're going to two websites of two service based business owners or two B2B business owners, and you're going to them for their knowledge and their skill set. And one business owner like you has been featured in all these publications. They're an expert contributor. They've got awards, speaking things. And the other one, same service, same pricing, same everything, doesn't have any of that. There is research out there that people are more inclined to trust this person who has the media features, and that trust and likability factor is huge as a service-based business owner. So it's really, really important. As far as like timeline or how many of those placements, it varies. It really depends. But truly just getting going and getting yourself out there and getting yourself talking in your field as an expert is so important as establishing yourself as an authority figure.
I want to ask you this question, and I've been thinking about that myself for a while now. It's actually two spectrum. On one hand, there are those of us, like myself included, that don't want to brag, right? Like, even though I have all this award, all this achievement, right? I don't want to really, looks like I'm a show off, right? I don't want to include that on LinkedIn. But on the other hand, if you scroll on the LinkedIn profile, you see people who have tons of achievement, right? They've been they went to this college, and then they have this award, right? So those people seems unapproachable. How would you coach both sides to, because at the end you want people to reach out to you, and that's the goal for a good PR campaign, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I come across this issue a lot when I'm working with business owners. They don't want to come off as too big of an ego, and they're kind of worried about putting themselves out there. I'm a professional hype person, so that's my job. So I'm just like, throw that to the wind. I would say this. I would caution people not to be too extreme, especially when you're writing a bio. A lot of times these days I see chat GPT put in just really big like fluffy words that aren't really necessary, and kind of put bios over the top. So I think that's a trap that entrepreneurs should be aware of, and making sure that your bio is just like kind of straightforward and to the point. Now, as far as sharing accolades, awards, media opportunities, I think it's very important. And I think that if you have something to share, like you owe it to your audience to let you know, like to let them know that it's out there and that you are the best. So um there's a balance. I think you can be tactful in the way that you present that information. And I think LinkedIn is a great way to do that, especially I'm going to go back and use the example for you writing that article in that publication when the piece hits, going on LinkedIn and sharing it. Hey, check out this article that I wrote for this publication. That's a great tactful way to share that. And then listing awards and other things as they come about. So uh, my I think you should put more out there, but just be smart and tactful about it.
Yeah, I think it's a fine line to balance, right? You don't want to put too little, so people then just write you off. But then you don't want to push like a full page of things, even if you have won that many awards, and you know, like you care, but a lot of people sometimes to a certain numbers, right? It helps, but then if you go way too overboard, then that's when I think people are not like, is he like really care about what I do because they're so big, right, on paper.
Yeah. Well, and you can be strategic about how you release that information. So if you have received like 12 awards last year, we'll trickle it out to your audiences over the course of 12 months so that it's not just hitting everyone at once. So that would be my recommendation.
What about for business that have employees? So do you recommend that they do PR for themselves, or should they only do PR for the business?
Both. So if for any CEO or business owner, I definitely recommend like a thought leadership campaign, especially if they're B2B or service-based business. Establishing themselves as the go-to expert is really important, but then also highlighting the services of the business, maybe other employees who have different areas of expertise could be really valuable as well.
Okay. So for PR for the business, what should we talk about? Because I think, the PR piece, right? Even if they work with a professional like yourself, I know you'll be asking a lot of questions, right? What are you guys famous for? Like, what do you stand for? What are your missions, right? A lot of time we have so little to talk about, then we don't get written up. So how do you uncover some of the shining object within the business? Like, what are some of the things that we should be prepared for before reaching out to a PR professional like yourself?
Yeah, I would really make sure that you define your key differentiators and then also pay attention to trending topics and trending things that are happening in your industry. So, what are new trends happening that you can weigh in on? Or what's happening in the bigger world, like in the bigger news cycle that you could weigh in on as well? Let's just call it like Taylor Swift, for example, is just everywhere all the time. And if you can tie your the promo guy to something Taylor Swift is doing, or you can weigh in, let's say, on her swag or something like that. That's timely and newsworthy. So you're looking for a couple different things. You're looking for timely, newsworthy things that are happening in the news cycle right now that you can speak to. You're looking for trends that are coming up that you can speak to and help be a resource to media, and then key differentiators, and of course any product launches or anything that's new happening in your business.
Well, I like that. I could definitely tie myself to Taylor Swift, right? I like that idea. So what about people who are thinking about do it themselves versus working with a professional like yourself? How would you suggest them to balance? Like, if they can do it, they should do it. But if they think they don't have a certain skill set, this is the turning point to hire a professional. Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, the biggest hindrance is going to be time suck. So it is very time consuming to identify media outlets, pitch media outlets, and create like news stories. It's also helpful to have a third party pitching on your behalf. Again, going back to that well, I don't want to share how great I am. It's easier to have that other person, hey, look how great this guy is. He can be an expert for your story. So it's much easier to have a PR expert in that capacity. I would say, like, if you are looking to get started yourself, there's again those platforms I mentioned out there. Start exploring those. There's other good ones for podcasting. Podmatch is out there. Create a profile on that. Create a profile on Quoted, and just start looking through media opportunities that you could respond to, and see how comfortable you are with that. And if you're not, that's when I would definitely turn to a PR expert, a freelancer, or a PR agency to help support you.
Yeah, and I think it really depends on your personal, preference, right? So if you are energetic, right, you like to talk like that, I think podcast is
Yeah,
for you.
yeah.
Some of us are not me, but some of the listeners are writers. So maybe you could do a contribution article, or you could write about something that you're passionate about. I like your suggestion, Jordan, for what if I could tie eco-friendly, right? People care about the environment. My client
Yeah.
asked me about eco-friendly option. What if I could tie promotional product with eco-friendliness? How can you minimize the impact for when you're exhibiting at a trade show? So I think these are timely articles that people actually search about. I actually got a inquiry from a law firm, because I think 2 years ago I wrote about a safety award program for a construction site. They said, they wanted to quote me on it. So actually, articles that happens way before people can still take it up and it becomes newsworthy again. So I think some contents are evergreen, and like you
Mhm.
said, some you could, if you have time, if you have the resource, right, you can actually jump onto trending topics and give your opinion on it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's super valuable. If you have the time and capacity to do that.
So let me ask you a big question then. For small business in the service-based business that are thinking about doing PR, what would be their first step? And let's assume that they have all the channel running already, but now they feel like they really want to put our name out there and become the go-to expert in the industry.
So first step is ask yourself, why do you want PR? What purpose is it going to serve? Are you looking for brand awareness? Are you wanting to establish yourself as an authority figure? Are you wanting to drive traffic and sales and leads? So getting clear on that first is going to be really important because it will help guide some of your PR strategy. Second would be creating like a simple, I'm getting very tactical right now.
Mhm.
The second thing would be is creating a simple press kit online, and that would include like your media bio, your boilerplate and about copy, and some general information about the company. And from there, once you have those communication materials dialed in, I would then you can start maybe reaching out to some media outlets. I would definitely first start with a Quoted, Podmatch, Aharo, Connectively, because those are, again, journalists looking for sources. It's a little bit easier. And then if you wanted to work with a PR professional, there's lots of amazing agencies and freelancers out there that could really help expedite this whole process, take it off your plate. If that's not the route for you, then starting with those platforms first and then starting to foster relationships with media on a LinkedIn is a great first couple steps for someone.
It sounds like a full-time job already, just by
Yeah.
have yourself available for
Yeah,
PR.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Because when you talk about that, I think about a lot of things that listener can do, right? If you want to go for the podcast route, right? So it takes a while for you to talk to to get comfortable. Think about talking about yourself. It's not easy. You think like I could talk about myself all day long, but really to be interesting and talking about things that you're passionate about, it takes time. It took me a while to think about answering the right question and don't and sounds friendly. For
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
that's a learning part. So and then listen to yourself from the speaker, it sounds so weird, even if you think that you're really good at what you do. So, and then for reaching out to the journalists, I think Jordan, you're nice enough. Like you didn't mention that you probably get rejected a lot right before you
Yes.
get the yes. So
Yes.
like if
Yes.
you somehow not ready for it, or if you don't like rejection, maybe really think about work with a professional, and Jordan can handle it for you.
Exactly. Yes. And that's another big benefit is I never share with my client if there is a rejection or something like that. I'll handle it myself, and I'm definitely not afraid of rejection. That's part of the PR professional job.
I think it's just, for PR, a lot of times it's waiting for the right moment. And then you have to know who to connect, right? So if they really dying for a quote that you can answer, but if they don't know about you, then they don't know about you. So it's finding out maybe for the right moment, for the right content, right? So then, that's where when, things get viral because it's the right place at the right time.
Exactly. That's a big part of it. And again, I know I keep repeating myself with these platforms, but it's one of the benefits. It's journalists looking for sources at that moment, and that's one of the best ways to get featured in the media is meet the journalists where they're at and show up at the right time.
Mhm. Jordan, I know that we're getting to a point that, listener will have individual questions for you. What would be the best way to contact you? And do you have a new service that come out? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes, so I'm so excited. Last month I rolled out a new PR subscription service, which is completely affordable and approachable for service-based business owners. So this is designed specifically for service-based business owners who want to establish themselves as the authority figure, as the go-to expert in their industry. It's $9.97 a month. We handle all of your podcast pitching. We create a PR strategy for you, your press kit. We do all your media outreach for you. And so we make it really easy, and you have access to a full service PR agency. My team also offers full retainer PR agencies services for mid-sized businesses as well. But this subscription service, I'm really, really excited to roll out because I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs could benefit from PR. And you can visit juleppublicity.com. You can email me at jordan@juleppublicity.com if you have any questions about this.
Thank you so much for coming on to the show today. I learned a lot from you.
Good. Thank you so much for having me. This was so fun.
Thank you.